I might need your backup cording because I think I've forgotten to plug my hard drive in. So don't save it. We're here for our coffee chat, and it's always so much to discuss. I'm here with my great friend Bryce from Esoteric Atlanta, and we're always going through it all with you guys. In terms of where we're at, what's the energy, what's the feedback we're getting from people about what's going on in all of your lives who's listening. And so one of the things we really wanted to speak today about is a real classic, really. It's tomorrow isn't guaranteed. We can spend so much of our life living for what's to come, and we'll talk about what we mean for that we really forget to be present and really live today. So first and foremost, Bryce, how are you doing? And let's launch into it, what this means to you.
I'm okay. I think it's been a rough, we're astrologically in a really rough, turbulent time with the eclipse, which we got to see part of the eclipse here in Atlanta on Monday. That was cool. But we're also Mercury retrograde, which anytime the planet's retrograde, it gives you a time to reflect. So the universe isn't here to give you chaos, but chaos comes up for you to see where that friction is in your own life. And when you brought this up, Catherine, I was just saying to you off camera that I've been trying, as always, to reevaluate my own patterns that I'm consciously aware of, and then becoming more conscious of subconscious patterns that I wasn't totally conscious of. And that is part of the yoga practice too. And I was telling you that this whole Mercury retrograde eclipse season kind of brought up in me that I realized that I have this pattern of working really, 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 really hard to make other people happy. And I realized that that comes from childhood trauma. And that when I was a child, if I didn't go above and beyond for other people, then there was going to be chaos in my world. And so it was a survival mechanism for me. And I do that now. I'm really bad about doing things for free where I won't get paid, go. And so I am now trying, if tomorrow isn't guaranteed, then why am I still at 41 living my life trying to make other people happy and calm? When at 41, I could just people who are going to rely on me to overwork for them anyway, I can just cut them off. I don't have to, when you're a child, you have to find ways to survive because you can't tell these people to get out of your house. You can't go to a different school. Like you're stuck. So you develop these coping mechanisms in order to keep other people peaceful so that you can experience peace, but those survival tactics don't work when you're an adult. And if tomorrow that never comes, then I've spent all this energy for what?
Yeah,
You know?
completely. It's been coming up for me big time because I had a really difficult week last week. One of my animals, one of my guinea pigs, passed away, and I was nursing her for a few days. And it's literally um, with life, someone or an animal or a person can be here 1 minute and gone the next, and you don't want to spend your whole life worrying about that. But similarly, once they're gone, there's nothing you can do about thinking, I wish I'd spent some more time with them. I wish I'd made different choices. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd done that. And we see this in so many people. I mean, there's loads of brilliant literature, books, videos that show regrets of people that are dying, regrets on the deathbed. And no one ever says, I wish I'd had more clicks, or I wish I'd this. It's normally, I wish I'd made more of an impact. I wish I'd been kinder to this person. I wish I'd been kinder to myself, those sort of things. And I thought, given some of the messages I'd seen of people sending through to me, it was a really good time to have this conversation and talk about Mercury retrograde. I'm sorry for the delay in the videos. Our video connection is bad today. We've tried several things, and so if there's a delay, I apologize for that. But it's really, with all this knowledge, all the disclosure that's coming out, all the projection of it's this person's fault, it's that politician's, it's this or that. And I'm not negating that these things aren't real. Please see, there's a difference, as you and I will say, that both things can be true. I've really been coming back to sort of the good old question, Bryce. Can I do something about it? Yes or no? If I can, do something about it, and do something about it now. Stop whinging about it. Do something about it now. If I can't, then there's no point me worrying about it. Get on with
Well,
my life.
yeah, and the thing about like blaming it on somebody else, and yeah, absolutely two things can be true. We were just talking about the the Build Back Better group. We were just talking about what's happening financially in our world, and that is something that is not really that's a global crisis, right? So yes, that is true. But to totally blame somebody else takes the power away. It's you. It's again you giving your power away
Yeah.
because it's you saying I can't do anything to change it. And I it's so interesting because on Mondays on my channel and on our friend Shanti's channel, we've been looking at the Romanovs and going through their history. And almost every single one of those family members all have conspiracies around them, like faking deaths. And I'm like, this has been done before.
Yeah.
This has all been done before. So here we have a group of people in our world that are like, oh, well, this person faked their death, and once they reveal themselves, all will be made right. No. If someone faked their death, good for them. Like that's good for them and their family, but it's got nothing to do with you. It's got nothing to do with you. How are you? We see that with Mr. T. It makes me mad because I see so many people getting mad at Mr. T because they somehow think that he's just going to come in on a white knight and fix everything. And I'm like, he's got his own family and grandchildren to worry about. He's a human being just like we all are. And he's got a lot of stress on his plate right now with all these court cases, and he's got his children and his grandchildren, and they've all gotten threats. And so how entitled are you to put everything on him to fix your life for you? Yes, two things can be true. That the system is messed up, it's broken. We all know that. But you're not broken,
You
So
are. There's a lot of tools that you can do to put
yeah,
yourself back together. It's such a good point. One of the things I'd like to ask you and everyone else is like, okay, if today is the first day of the rest of our lives, which of course it always is, and tomorrow does never come because when tomorrow comes, the next day will be tomorrow. So, these sayings, there is truth in them. But say for everyone that's watching, right, today's a reset. If we were to all sit there and get our journals out and do a really good audit of our lives, of our relationships, our health, our finances, and we were just to be really, really honest, imagine we're looking in on ourselves from an outside and you're yourself's best friend. So you've really got your interest at heart. You're looking in from the outside and you're saying, look, enough of the excuses. What decisions am I making where I'm spending my time that isn't serving me or my loved ones or the life that I want to create? And I will put my hand up. We have these conversations all the time, Bryce. I'll put my hand up. When something awful happens, like my guinea pig dying, it really makes you why there's something about human nature that when tragedy comes, because you think, well, I can play with them tomorrow, I can walk my horses tomorrow, I can see my mum tomorrow. And then there gets a day when you can't see them tomorrow. And then there's all the regret that comes with it. So, yes, we do all have to put food on our tables. Yes, we do have responsibilities in our lives. Some people have got animals, some people have got children, some people have got elderly relatives, some people have got, there's a condition for all of it. So, it's not that we have complete choice about what we spend our day doing, but we still have some choice, and we have choice about the way that we live and do those tasks, because there's nothing worse than moaning about looking after a sick relative, and then one day that relative's not there anymore. And then
yeah,
you
absolutely.
experience the joy in being able to spend that time with them, as an example.
It's so funny because even yesterday I was thinking, God, I wish my grandfather passed away in 2017. And I remember thinking, I wish my grandfather was still alive. Like I could really use because and the funny thing with him, Catherine, he's the one, my grandparent that had the near death experience when he was in his 40s. And I've talked about that before. And what had happened after, I mean, I only knew him. I was born when he was in his 50s. So I knew him he died when I was 34. So I knew him for 34 years. I don't remember when I first heard of the near death experience, but the story never changed. And basically, after that happened, when it was a health issue that caused it for 2 years after it happened. He was basically housebound, recovering. But then after that, he ended up going out in the world and like making millions and just lived this really vibrant life. But what had happened was he had lost his fear of death.
Yeah.
And so at that moment when he lost his fear of death, and I know through my study of Eastern philosophy that generally speaking, there is a theory that all of our fears, if not most of them, can be whittled back to the fear of death. even
Mhm.
like fear of public speaking. So like for instance, like my issue that, I've been working on, you know, is that need to when I was a child doing everything to make everyone happy so my surrounding was safe. Yes, probably was subconsciously that survival of surviving. So if that fear of death was gone, how would I perceive my life around me and how I interact with the world around me? Would time become more valuable to me because I would understand that this was an experience to be here? And I was thinking about my grandfather because, again, after he had that experience, it changed him completely, where he had no fear and he just ended up making a ton of money. And he helped a lot of people. He would he had a factory and he would hire illegal immigrants sometimes, and he would hire them attorneys to get them their paperwork and get their family. Like, he was constantly helping people with his money. And there's another trick that I learned too. So if someone like you, if you're watching right now and this is resonating, like the childhood stuff where you don't know, like I was telling you, Catherine, I don't know, I don't have a point of reference for what it's like to be in peace, to what it's like to have my time valued by an exterior person. And I learned this week from one of the many self-help channels I follow. And this comes back to childhood, taking care of the inner child, right? Find a few pictures of you as a child when you were that little girl or that little boy, put one on your desk, put one in your car so that you can see the innocent child that was programmed. For me, I was programmed to believe that I don't deserve a life without labor, that I need to constantly be laboring. And I know exactly where it comes from. I know exactly, like, I actually heard that spoken by an adult in my life. Even when I was an adult, I heard that same adult say that my sister and I didn't deserve to go on vacations because my mother took us on a vacation. Anyway, so I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to put, in order to rewire that perception of time and living a life of quality, I'm going to take some of my childhood pictures and put them on my desk and put them on in the car so that I can tell that little girl, you deserve to have your time that you deserve your time valued. You did not have you don't deserve to slave away for other people anymore. You did what you had to do to survive. Now you've got to understand that your life is valuable as well. And so for people who want to, we can't rely on tomorrow. If that's resonating with you, let's try it. Put a picture of yourself on your desk and start talking to that child that wasn't protected or that wasn't nurtured, so that these bad patterns that are causing you to not live the life that you want, or to not see the people and spend time with the people you want because you think you should be at work all the time. Maybe start talking to that little kid again, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. And I think, all of us are going to be going through something like this. We're all going to have some limiting factor in our lives, whether it's our health, whether it's our finances, whether it's our relationships, whether it's your job, whatever it is. So I would say pick the one that's giving you the most angst at the moment, that you're least happy with. And again, sit there in a really compassionate way and be really honest with yourself. Okay, what choices am I making on a daily basis that are either contributing towards this misery or helping get out of it? So, one that I'm asking myself now is I'm having a complete review of all the work I'm doing. Where am I putting my attention? Which bits are giving rewards, because we've all got, we all need to be earning a living, which bits aren't, and the ones that aren't are going to go. Simple as
Yeah.
that. Because I can't keep repeating the same pattern and then expecting different results. And that's something that I do very regularly, because you can be going on really nicely and then things can gradually veer off course so slowly that you don't notice. And then once you do notice, it doesn't matter at all that it's happened, because you'll have learned lessons along the way, but course correct. So, if people are watching this and their health's out of balance, and we all live in different countries, and the access to healthcare supplements, what we have to pay for, what we don't have to pay for, is different for all of us, depending where you live. But I get a lot of people saying, well, I'd love this, but I can't afford it. Well, if you really like it, it's not that, if it's, I hate this saying, Bryce, if it's important enough for you, you do it, because that's not always the case, because you might have other people that are dependent on you. But actually looking, okay, what can I do? What can I do to make the changes? Because if my health is really important, what can I do to move that up the priority list for me? However little that change is, every little change that we make will make a difference. And how you decide to do it might be really different to how your best friend decides to do it, because they'll have different challenges and different scenarios. So I think just being really compassionate with ourselves and also others, and realizing that every single person is going through something like this. Every single person will be going through a challenge in their life, whatever that might be. And therefore, instead of sort of like, oh, I told you so, oh, well, so and so, well, that didn't work, or this, just like, oh, how fantastic, I've recognized it. What am I going to do differently?
Now I got to fix it. Yeah. Yeah, it's as you were saying that too, I was thinking like, yeah, there's little things you can do. And are we did you guys hear are we okay? Did the filming something okay,
It's
anyway.
still going for
I
me,
thought
yeah.
okay. The as you were saying that, like doing little shifts to change your life. And get up super early in the morning, and I have done for 18 years, do my practice. And one of the most annoying things that I hear from people, they go, "Oh, I'm not a morning person." You
Yeah.
think I am? I just made the choice. Don't ever say that to somebody who gets up early in the morning to go for a run or to go for, they don't want it. They just made that choice. They decided that that getting up tired and running or practicing yoga or whatever it is first thing in the morning was going to set them up for a better day, and they made that choice and that made that dedication. Nobody's a morning person.
Mm.
Nobody is a morning person. In fact, there was a shawl where I used to practice, and this one girl would come in every single morning and complain about being tired. And finally, the teacher looked at her, and I won't say her name, but she was like, she said, "We'll say Jane Doe. Everybody's tired.
Mm.
Everybody came in here tired, but you're the only one that's complaining about it. Everybody else just gets on their mat and does their work." And
Mm.
so, yeah, it is. Where are you? I guess in that sense, like where the little everybody can get up an hour earlier.
Mm.
Everybody can.
Everybody.
Where are you deciding to slack off and stay? There's that great saying that the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. Sometimes people are willing to stay in discomfort, but blaming it on something else, like I'm not a morning person,
Yeah.
or this truther channel said that Mr. T is going to come save us, so I'm going to sit around and eat bonbons and wait for it to happen. Meanwhile, I'm losing money. Or where you take your power back, take that power back. And if you want to get up an hour earlier, be like, it's gonna suck to get up an hour earlier, but the benefit, we do the work because the work works for us. That benefit of getting up that 1 hour earlier is going to put me into a different trajectory. I'm going to actually start to take care of myself and not rely on somebody else coming to take care of me, because then I'm in my full autonomy. And it doesn't change overnight. It takes time for these patterns to change. It takes time. You think about something simpler, like if someone decides to quit smoking, or if someone decides to take sugar out of their diet, that takes a while.
Mm.
And it's uncomfortable. People don't just, I mean, and I know in a lot of sense, going cold turkey on things isn't the best way. You need to wean. Like when people want to go to vegetarian, I don't know about you, Catherine, but I always tell people who want to go vegetarian, take it slowly. First, cut out pork, then wait a month, then cut off red meat, then wait a little bit longer where you're just on poultry and fish, and then take out the poultry. Let your body slowly adapt. Well, the same thing goes if you can think about that from like a physical standpoint of cutting something out like sugar, smoking, or meat, and the withdrawals. Well, think about that in a psychological standpoint too. You are going to have withdrawals. It's not just going to be an overnight clear cut path. It's going to take time for these new patterns to emerge, a healthier patterns to emerge. If it happened overnight, there would be no yoga shalas. If it happened overnight, there would be no therapy, right? These things take time. But the good thing is the time that it takes to make these changes. Usually, you gain a lot of wisdom in that time period too. You learn more about yourself when you're actually up against the wall and you're feeling the friction. You're feeling the desire to go back to the old instead of keep pushing forward to the new.
Yeah. And we don't want life to be a race. So my mum always used to say, it's always to be better to be late in this life than early in the next. Because, if you're in your car and you're in a rush and you're speeding, that's when you're most likely to have an accident, when you're not concentrating and you're stressed about getting somewhere on time. So I think for me, this last week has been a real reflection period, because I've had a loss of an animal. And it's just really important that we don't wait for something awful to happen for us to make that reflection. It should be something that we do on a regular occurrence for our own benefit, because there's some beautiful podcasts about lessons learned from the dying of people in hospices and things like that. And you always think that you've got tomorrow, but all of us will know someone that's died suddenly or been killed in a car accident, or operations gone wrong, or just terrible things that they couldn't possibly have planned for. And how many times were they like, oh, I'll enjoy life tomorrow, I'll enjoy life when I've inherited, I'll enjoy life when I retire, I'll enjoy life when all this corruption's gone and we're not being lied to. Well, don't wait, you really can't wait. It's such a cliche, but the energetic shift, if we could all be living from that place, would change the energy and the resonance on a huge, huge scale. And I have to constantly remind myself of it. And it's a shame this time that I got that really awful kick up the backside. I can always remember, Bryce, when my grandma was in her early 90s, and she came to an event at my son's school, and it was lovely. And long story short, I parked the car and it was blocking someone, a bus coming in, and I was being hooted. And I can remember saying to my poor 90-something-year-old grandma, hurry up, we've got to get in the car. And she couldn't hurry up because she was 90-something, and it was a really low car, and she needed time to get in. And those things stick at you. It's like, stop hurrying through life.
Yeah.
Stop
Yeah.
life. If all of us made the time for our friends, for our community, for ourselves, for our health, for our, it's a classic time. We haven't got time to go to the gym or go to a run or cook a meal from scratch, but you've got time to wait in the hospital. Where do you want to be spending that time?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And you're right. If collectively everybody started taking their power back and recourse correcting their either codependency or their patterns that are not serving them, it would change the collective. It would change the bad guys, the state of the bad guys in the world. And that, the three karmas that we're all dealing with, every single person has three main karmas. One is your personal karma, two is your lineage, your karmic lineage, and three is the collective karma.
Mm.
So the fact that we've got these nefarious controllers in the world, that's our responsibility to collectively deal with, not for some mysterious white hat group, not for Mr. T alone. It's for all of us to collectively deal with. And how do we collectively deal with it? We take our power back.
I
And
love that. Oh, I so love you said that, because so many people talk about the 100 monkey effect. And the 100 monkey effect is basically, say I'm in the UK, Bryce in America. If enough people in the UK start behaving a different way, or enough monkeys on one island start behaving another way, even though they never meet the monkeys on the other island, the other monkeys, through the, whether you call it the divine matrix, the morphic field, whatever you want to call it, they start taking on those behaviors, and they take on that knowledge. So we know there's this ether. I still think it's ether, that has been taken out of the periodic table. Surprise. That we pass on this knowledge. So we talk about it with things like the 100 monkey effect, and everyone gets that. So we've got to talk about it all these other areas of the life. It's exactly the same things. When we all start making these decisions, it's why it keeps coming back to those little decisions of how you're living your life on a day-to-day basis. They're what counts. If you're financially in trouble, who are you spending your time with? What are you listening to? What are you spending? And a lot of people are financially in trouble at the moment, because the inflation's gone like this, cost of living's gone like this. But just time for a course correct, because there's equally plenty of people that are not in financial difficulty, and they're in the same economy as we are, but they're on a different vibrational plane. They're just tuning into a different frequency. So it's all possible, and therein lies the fun of life, of finding how we can move from that.
And it's a constant work. And I know you say this too all the time, like, Kat, like I'm still working on this. Like I want to blame Biden for everything, but what happens if I just ignore him and just take care of it myself? It's and I've heard people say, like, with the collective, and I think because we are so, a lot of, and we've talked about this before, and I hope I'm getting the, we're so into like the nefarious side of the world that a lot of these truther channels have really become drama channels. And even just watching the stuff, it just brings that giving that your power away over to this nefarious group. And if you just ignore them, I have somebody on Instagram was like, just ignore them. They're like annoying kids. If you just ignore them and don't play into their game, they can't do what they want to do. They can't do it. It's like if there's a pastor at church that's telling everybody that if you do this, that, or the other, you're going to go to hell. But then everybody in the church, instead of like obeying the pastor or the cult leader, if everyone at church just said, I'm not coming back anymore, then that pastor or cult leader has no power anymore over because there's no congregation to have power over. So, but then again, it is so much easier to sit there and say, well, it's this person's fault that I'm
Yeah.
miserable. But and that's the hamster wheel, right? That's that we call them samskaras in yoga. It's a samskaric cycle, or I talk about all the time where I absolutely believe in reincarnation, but I get very concerned when I see how many people are so obsessed with past lives.
Yeah.
Listen, spirituality is about being here now, not there then. You already did that life. You might have brought karma from that life, but the karma from that life needs to be worked out in the here now in this life. This life, not that life, this life. So are you clinging to past life channels and like in this whole great awakening so much so that you're disassociating from this life that you're in? Because if you're disassociating from this life that you're in by trying to live in the there then instead of the here now, you're going to have even more karma for the next life to deal with. So and I know it's fun to like romanticize who you might have been in the past life, but I always laugh because people are never just the plumber, are they?
No, this is what makes me laugh. It's so funny. I just want to do a spoof show of that and say, well, I was the sewer rat,
I was the one sweeping the street.
And actually, sewer rats are really clever and they've got a really good survival mechanism. But I don't know. I think, how can we all, let us know in the comments below, how can we all be responsible but take life less seriously? My dogs are fast asleep on the back. You can't see them at the moment. They're fast asleep back there. The cats are fast asleep down there. And then they'll get up and they'll do what they need to do. And actually, every time they get up, they'll stretch, they'll yawn, they'll have a shake, and then they'll go off. And if it's the cats, they'll go off and try and catch their own food, and they'll exercise themselves by running up and down the trees. And just, I suppose, let's just live this life to the best of our ability. We've all got things that we're going to go through, but if we can really make sure that we're enjoying each day. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say, Bryce, there's again so many brilliant podcasts and there's so many different brilliant books. Messages from the deathbed. It's always the simple things that brought the most pleasure.
Oh, absolutely.
I had a multi-million pound whole company. It's never the riches, it's never the fame, it's never the external accolade. It's always like, I had a really good relationship with this person, or I love seeing my grandchildren grow up. It's the simple everyday life things that really are shown to bring the most pleasure and the most learning and the most gratitude.
My favorite time of the day is when I'm laying in the bed in the morning about to get up, and Ravi, my dog, I have to specify it's my dog. It'd be weird if this was my boyfriend, but Ravi, my dog, will put his head in my hand. He'll put his head in my hand that open and he kind of rubs his head to get me to pet his head, and I'll start petting his head. And or sometimes he wants to get up before me, so he'll get out of bed and he'll stick his snout in my face and he'll just look at me to time to get up now. Those are my favorite times of the day, and they're free. They're free. They're not, and if you don't mind, Catherine, I know this is on your channel this week, but can we ask just to help our friends get their power back, can I ask them to put like 3 things they really love about themselves in the here now?
Love
Like,
it.
what are 3 things about you that you think are just so cool about you? Because I think too, sometimes if we focus on the good side of ourselves, it helps us to correct the bad, the patterns that need to be corrected.
Yeah, I think that's really lovely. And, what are the things that also that bring you the most pleasure? Like for me, feeding time for all my animals, whether it's the guinea pigs, the dogs, the horses, the cats, the rabbits, the fox, the birds, it brings me so much happiness. Getting good, wholesome food for the animals. I could literally, I'll tell you what, if we live in a commune, I volunteer to muck out the animals. I volunteer to look after them. I don't mind whether it's wind, raining, whatever. I get such pleasure from doing that, way more pleasure than I'd ever get going to a posh restaurant or something, or even on holiday. So we all have different things. Now, not most of my friends think I'm mad. That is not their ideal. But yeah, let us know the good things. I think that's lovely. The good things about you. And let us know also, what are the little things in life that really bring you the most pleasure?
I will when you said that, Catherine, I will say that's another favorite part of my day because we put Robbie's on Catherine's diet, which has really changed his relationship with food. And without fail, every day around 3:30 when he gets fed, my boyfriend does it because he loves cutting it. Ravi will run circles around the table and then he'll sing. He'll start howling and he's so excited. He's so just in that pure joy that he's getting this. Before we were giving him kibbles, he didn't care. He didn't
Yeah,
care about the fact that he's about to have this like nutritious meal and the fact that my boyfriend's putting love into making it for him and he's just singing and kissing my boyfriend and it's just a party at our house for about 5 minutes until
it's,
the
it's so rewarding, isn't it? It's so rewarding. And the other thing, Bryce, that I'm just absolutely loving is I got a secondhand greenhouse because it's still, we're not having a good spring in the UK. It's still pretty cold. We all know why. Those funny shaped clouds up there. But anyway, but at this greenhouse, and all my seeds are coming through now, and it's so exciting when you see the seeds coming through. I mean, look, I've grown vegetables for a lot of years. The excitement never goes. So those are my little things that give me so much pleasure. They really do. So let us know what it is for you, and also how can you make changes to your lifestyle so that you incorporate more of that.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I'll give one more too, something silly. Right when I finish doing my workout in the morning, like right when I'm finished and I'm laying down for my meditation, that 5 minutes is so blissful and so calm. And that makes that whole strenuous work before it worth it for that 5 minutes. So I cannot wait to hear what everybody else has to say. I want to hear the three things that you like about yourself and what are your favorite moments of your day that you look forward to that are just simple, you know,
I
just
love it.
simple.
I absolutely love it. Thank you so much. We will be back next week on Esoteric Atlanta. We alternate the different channels. So all Bryce's links, I'm sure you are subscribed, but if you're not, please also subscribe to our Rumble channels as well, because we have some great content and we've got some more good things coming up on that soon. Let us know. Have a really, really amazing day wherever you're watching this from, and hugs to everyone. Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. And if you feel inspired, please do share with your friends and family. My goal is to inspire as many people as I can to live their best lives, to stay curious and to raise their consciousness and that of the collective. So to do this, I need to reach as many people as possible, and this needs your help. If you feel drawn, would you be willing to share your favourite episode with 5 different people? This helps us spread the word and also helps me encourage some exciting new guests to take part in this podcast. If you feel drawn to do that, I will be very, very grateful. All the links and discount codes where applicable for all the products that I support are on my 2 websites, CatherineEdwards.life and CatherineEdwardsAcademy.com. All of the products are personally tried and tested by me, my family, and my clients. And finally, please do press the follow or subscribe button, depending which platform you're listening on. And above all, stay curious and stay free.